Today's topic is going to be on using your reach data to tell your story, or to tell a story about your coalition and the work you guys have been doing. Hopefully, if you don't know by now, if you're a new client, you might not know this, but we do provide your semi-annual and annual evaluation reports to you. But sometimes we know that those aren't always as helpful to share with the community, or don't necessarily translate into something we want to share with the community. They're helpful for us from a staff point of view, from a evaluation point of view, but it might not tell the story that we want our community members to see, or might not tell the information that we want them to know. So today we're going to kind of talk about that and taking some of that reach data that you spend so much time entering, and how you can kind of pull that out and turn it into something you can share to help share your story and get the information out there. Our learning objectives for today. So really I want to be able to break this up into a couple different sections. The first thing I want to be able to gauge who is my audience. We're going to kind of walk through that and knowing who I'm talking to. Next, we're going to walk through what does my audience actually need to know. So now that I know who my audience is, what do they need to know, or what do they even want to know? And then we're going to kind of end with different ways to present that data to them based on the who and the what. So first things first, we are going to start out with who is my audience. You guys work with a lot of different sectors, a lot of different people, and sometimes you work with more sectors than others, and you guys sometimes might struggle getting a certain sector involved. So in order to get them involved, you might go about doing this by providing them an elevator pitch or other ways. However, knowing who your audience is really going to help you figure out what information you want to share with them. Here's obviously a few of the most common sectors that I see some of our clients use or do work with. But let's kind of take a step back. So let's say that, for instance, you guys are maybe working on recruiting new youth members. If you're working on recruiting new youth members, the information you might want to share with them then could be, activities or entries that you've recorded into Reach that are associated with, youth. Maybe it was a fun youth event you hosted and you want to share that with them and how successful it was in the past. Or maybe you also want to share how the youth that have been involved in the coalition in the past have, worked really hard to get the school to maybe implement a significant policy. You want to make sure you're sharing those big ticket items with the youth specifically, because you want them to see, oh, my opinion's valid, me getting involved would actually be worth something. It's not just, me putting my name on a piece of paper. So that's kind of one way to look at that. When you're in Reach, let me kind of take a little quick step over here. When you're in Reach, the best way to filter through your data is to go to the change view. And let's say we want to filter out by sector involved. So let's go back to our youth example. We want to, share some of our data or share our story with some youth to get them maybe involved. I would go with sectors involved and type in youth here. And then we can click contains, and it's going to pull up all of our events that involve youth. From here, I might simply export these to an Excel and use them. Maybe I'll comb through them and pull out a couple, important ones or ones that are really big that we are proud of, and share those with those new youth that you're trying to engage. So that is kind of the first step I wanted to walk through, is make sure you are identifying who your audience is. Next, we need to know, okay, so we know that we have our youth here, but what do they actually need to know? We talked about the youth, are we trying to recruit them? What do we need to know that would get them to want to, become a member? Are we trying to share the coalition's accomplishments, with our board or coalition members? Is this just simply, provide information to those who are already at the table so they know what's going on? Is this you trying to recruit a new partner? So is this us trying to, develop partnerships so we can host an event or an activity? Or is it even, maybe trying to forge a new relationship with local business owners, or maybe a local, popular parent who talks to all the youth or runs, a youth group or something. Really ask yourself, who is my audience and what do they need to know? Why am I reaching out to them? Why am I wanting to give them this information? What story do I want them to see and to know? After you know your audience and what they need to know, the next step is to decide which way you want to present the data to them. The first thing I recommend asking yourself is, am I presenting number data or, percentages, that quantitative data to them? Or do I want to share, some of our actual, things that we've done, our qualitative data, maybe it's results from a focus group, or maybe it's just simply, events or things that we've done. Make sure you're asking yourself that. Second, you need to ask yourself, is this a presentation that I'm thinking I want to do? Is this going to be a handout? Is this simply, going to be an elevator pitch? Am I just going to start, walking up to people on the sidewalk and asking them or telling them about my coalition? Is it a quick thing? Is it a longer thing? And then lastly, really examine your options. I talked about, it could be a handout like a PowerPoint, it could be a Word document, it could be an Excel document, it could be an infographic, it could be an animated video as well. And we're going to actually walk through, whoops, wrong thing. We're going to actually walk through these in a second here. The first thing I want to talk about is going to be a presentation. We're going to kind of walk through some examples here. Let's say that we decide that my audience is going to be my coalition or my community members that are at my meeting. We are having maybe this is our meeting in April that we're going to have this coming Friday. And I basically want to share with them what we've done the past quarter, maybe January through current day. In order to do that, I first must ask myself, what do they want to know? What really matters to them as a member of my coalition or as a board member? And I decided, I'm going to go with explaining a few different things. I'm going to do a PowerPoint because that's going to be the best way to share my information at my meeting because I can pull it up there for everyone to see. And I decided, maybe I give them a brief overview, just kind of a quick, overall accomplishments that we've had over the past quarter per se. And we're going to say that we had 55 outputs to date that were directed at a specific goal. So they know that, so they kind of know how much work we're doing towards a specific goal versus what we're actually doing just towards general ATOD. And then breaking that down a little bit further, I kind of broke that down into, what percentage is towards each goal. So we had 10% towards tobacco, maybe 21% of our entries were towards prescription drugs, and 17 towards underage drinking. Then maybe I also give them a quick breakdown of, the total number we've served this past quarter is only 538. Maybe the total number we've reached through media is 641. And the total value of in-kind or match that we've generated so far this year is that number. Really ask yourself though, do my coalition members need to know all this? Do they know what any of this means? Because you might be able to cut some of this out. My coalition, I'm going to say that they wanted to know all of this, so I figured why not keep us all on the same page and share it. Next, I decided, I want to really talk about some implementation and big things that we've done this past quarter. Let's say that my coalition held its first responsible beverage server training in the city of Riverbank. I really wanted to share that with them to make sure all my members know, hey, this is a big accomplishment for us. This is the first time we have done this. I also shared with my members that we partnered with the local municipalities to host our first community forum meeting that was specifically about youth substance prevention. So that was another big accomplishment for us. I wanted to make sure we highlighted that. And then lastly, I also shared that the local Riverbank High School, in collaboration with us, the coalition, decided to pass a new policy implementing quarterly drug testing within the school. So those are my big things that I wanted to share. Your presentation might be as simple as this, is just sharing the big ticket items that you guys accomplished this past quarter or month. to make sure that your coalition members are up to date and informed. I, however, wanted to make sure I gave a little bit more information about what type of services we were providing in the community. That way, they see that we are having a reach and we're not just, working on these things in the background. We are actively providing services, getting out there amongst the community members. And this just kind of lists, a couple of my big services that we provided, a trauma-informed care training, that responsible beverage server training that we had for the first time, and some, presentations and things like that. Then I decided to break this down to people served. So we had our total number served. And then I also broke it down to our total youth served and adults served. And that can be found, again, using your filters within REACH. If you, instead of putting on sectors involved, maybe we decide to put on sectors targeted. All right, let's go to here. And if we go to sectors targeted, I can then pull up my youth targeted events. So let's go ahead and do that. And then if I'm only looking at my services that I'm providing, I want to make sure to put on my services provided filter as well. And then from here, I'm going to want to change view again and pull up numbers served. And then all the way down at the bottom, it's going to tell me the total number served. So I don't have the date filter on right now. That's why it looks like so much. But for my coalition, this is how you would go about finding that information and being able to break that down. If you want to look at the total number of parents served, you can type in parents here and filter by that and click contains, and they'll pull that up for you as well. You'll notice that some of these have parents and youth, so that must mean that the event had both parents and youth there attending. That's okay. The number that I have here is just kind of a general to kind of show us, how, if we're serving youth more than adults or vice versa. But it's just a cool way to show them, this is what we're actually doing and break it down a little bit more for them so they can understand that. My last slide that I decided to go with, which my coalition members might not take too much from this slide, but I thought it might just be useful to share or get them acclimated to this, because really your members should know the 7 behavior change strategies. They should know how you implement them into the work you guys are doing and why you have to use all of them and what they are. So I think it's beneficial to show this slide for your coalition members if you're trying to do, provide a story or share information with them, because it shows them, how my accomplishment outputs are breaking down among the different strategies. And for them, they can see, oh, wow, we've done a lot for providing information. Is this good? Is this bad? They can ask those questions or at least be knowledgeable about what the coalition is doing and what strategies they're using. Really, the best thing about sharing this information with your coalition is to equip them with the knowledge to then share it with other community members who might not be at the meeting. Now that they know this stuff, they can go out and talk more accurately about the coalition and what the coalition is doing, instead of just saying what they know from what they do. If they know that you guys are providing services to 500 youth this past quarter, they can go out and tell people that, like, hey, did you see some of those, have you attended any of our services maybe? And they can say no. They can be like, well, we do serve this many people in the community on an average basis. Maybe you should look into getting involved. I can give you some information. Things like that really go a long way with equipping people with the knowledge to talk about things. My next example I want to talk about is kind of using a Word document or an Excel to share information. I don't always recommend this example because I don't think it breaks it down enough for your average member to understand. But if it's something you're sharing with a board or just even with coalition staff among each other, I think it can be useful. If you do not know already, we do have our Export to Excel button here. A nice way to just kind of pull out what maybe you've done over the past year, quarter, whatever it is you want to pull out, is to use that Export to Excel button and then pull up that Excel. This is what it kind of looks like. It can be a little bit busy at first, depending on your descriptions and things. You can feel free to share this if this is how you want to share your story and you just want to get the information out there and say, here's the description of what we've done, here's when we did it with the dates, and so on. That's awesome. I also recommend even maybe turning this into a Word document just because it's easier to read. If you simply want to share a quick description of the things you've done the past month, this might be a good handout for coalition members. It lets them see, how many community changes you've done. So those big ticket, those new policies, programs, procedures that you guys have passed or actively implemented. They can see those and see what actually happened by reading the descriptions. Same thing, you can kind of break it down by output type here, which is what I did, or you could break it down by something else depending on what you're trying to share with them. Like I said, I don't know if this method is as useful as such as a PowerPoint, simply because a lot of people don't like to read things if they don't have to. If you do have some of those community members or, coalition members who like to read things and like to see those words and those things that you've done in this type of format, feel free to make a couple copies of these and just share them with just them, because that's what they like. Whatever you have to do to get them to the table or to give them the information that they need or that they want, feel free to do that. My next type of way to share your information or tell your story is to use an infographic maker. We use infographics a lot here actually at ECS. When you do get your annual reports, you guys usually get that infographic or that one-sheeter that we send you that you can kind of share with community members, which is why we've developed that for you guys. But if you want to design your own or even, develop it around something other than just your outputs, maybe you want to develop an infographic around your data. Maybe it's your student survey data just came out and you want to share that with the members. Awesome. You can do that through an infographic. Here's a couple of different sites. We here at ECS use Piktochart a lot. We just find it's relatively easy and user-friendly to use. I personally, for some of my personal things, as well as things at work, I'll use Canva. That one's also really helpful. These are both free, and I believe the Venngage has a free option as well. So you can use these for free. They're out there. You might not have as many options in the free version, but you still have enough options to create what you need to or want to. Really quick, I'm just going to pull this up. We're going to look at an example really quick. I don't know if this is too hard for you guys to see, but an infographic is really designed to be more eye-catching and in the form of graphs and, other things that really are not so much wordy, but more descriptive in a picture, such as this one here. This one uses a map of the United States to talk about picking the right typeface and that kind of stuff. Again, it's just kind of using more pictures instead of words to capture your audience or display what you want or to convey your meaning. But again, knowing your right audience can really make a difference. You might have coalition members or community members who would not understand what you're handing them if you hand them something like this. You might hand this to youth and they love it because it has no words and just pictures and they can read it and understand it. So just like I said, really knowing your audience can help you get that message across that you want to share. The last form of shareable way to share your information, which I recently have kind of stumbled onto, I haven't used it too much, is going to be an animated video maker. The ones I listed here are going to be free ones. They do provide a free option if you want, obviously, to upgrade and pay for it. It is a little bit more, but they do allow you to do quite a bit with their free options. My favorite is probably Biteable, which is the one I'm going to show you today. But for this example, let's suppose that we just received our youth survey data. Awesome. And now we want to share this with our youth coalition members. So we have our youth and we're talking about, planning out our next year and things that we want to do with the youth. And we want to use the data to influence that. Awesome. However, we all know youth have very short attention spans and they really do not want to be handed a piece of paper or a graph and try to interpret that or understand what it even says, because we know they a lot of times make false assumptions as well. So in order to share my information, my survey information with the youth, I decided, I'm going to make a quick, about 1 minute animated video for them to just watch so they can see the information, get it, and now we can kind of walk through what we want to do now that we know this. I am going to pull up this one for you. This is just kind of a quick, sample one that I created just to kind of show you guys what it could look like. There is plenty of different templates. You don't have to use the one with the little guy on here, but this is the one I did just for time's sake purposes. So we're going to go ahead and watch this really quick. All right, so that is just kind of one of the animated videos that I personally like using. I like the animated videos specifically for youth mainly focused things because I think it's a cool way to get your point across to the youth a little bit more because they're a little more engaged when they're actually watching something. I know a lot of people have been doing, PSAs, other types of informational, recordings like that. Those are awesome as well. The other thing that I like and want to point out with the animated video maker is it can also be good for, a local meeting that you're attending where they only give you like 2 minutes to talk about your coalition and you're like, what can I say in 2 minutes? Like there's just too much to say or talk about. The videos can be really good for that because it kind of takes some pressure off. You can put it into a video and then you can continue to use it too. So it's not something you have to constantly be, redoing all the time. You might want to update it here or there with new things that you guys have done or new accomplishments and that kind of stuff. But from there, you can take it to different places and share it and be stress-free, play the video and say, if anyone has any questions, talk to me after the meeting, and so on. So that's why I really like animated videos for that reason, because I think they can really point to your data and your information and things that you've done in a different way. And yes, Sandy, I will make sure to post the animated video maker on, I'll post it on Facebook so you guys can have the link and kind of see that there and you'd be able to use those tools. The last thing I wanted to walk through really quickly is just making sure everyone's comfortable with the app filter options now. It did change to change view right here, so just make sure you are aware of that. We've recently done some updates to Reach, so I want to make sure everyone knows that this is now where you go for your filter options. And I really just want everyone to know and be aware that using your dashboard as well can help you pull out this information. This is where I got a lot of the information for my PowerPoint that I showed you guys today. I just popped in a date range here. I backed it up to January, and then I did it through today. Or I think I did it through last Friday. And it pulled up my entries for me. Maybe that's not what I did. But it's just really use your dashboard and get used to using it, because these, again, can just even be nice graphs that you pull out, click. You could even take a screenshot of this and just say, share this with them. I just think any kind of information you can start sharing with them will help them learn how to tell the coalition story, and then it builds more reliable people coming to the table wanting to be involved and really helping, build the coalition's reputation in your community, as well as, get things done. It helps. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions for me today, I know our training was kind of shorter on today's end. If you want a more personalized training on this topic, let me know. I am willing to do kind of like a Zoom meeting with anyone who wants to talk about their coalition specifically and help them, maybe design something or pull out information that they can easily share to help tell their coalition story. We can do that as well. Just feel free to shoot me an email if you want to talk about that. And with that, thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.